Season acquisition time come and go now between the free agency and the draft. So, Andrew Hawkins, are the New York Giants better or worse than they were before all of last thing?
The New York Giants are exponentially better than they were a year ago. Even if they had only brought in John Harbaugh, they would be a much better football team than a year ago. Not to mention, they flipped their personality, the characteristics of their team. They bring in more firepower on that front seven, which is going to be very scary, a staple for John Harbaugh teams. Isaiah Likely in the offseason, Pat Ricard, you're looking at it here. They did great in the draft. I think this is going to be a football team that takes leaps and bounds steps forward than they were in the past season.
Yeah, I think it was a relatively, as I was asking the question, I was thinking to myself, clearly they're better. Maybe I'd like to sort of reframe it to just how much better. They lost so many close games last year. Jackson Dart should get better. We saw the almost endless list of pieces they have accumulated, and I know you're concerned about the one that got out the door.
Absolutely. The old Coach Parcells rule, which was evaluate an organization by the quality of players that leave your building. If you go back over the last few years from Julian Love, Leonard Williams, obviously Saquon Barkley, and now Dexter Lawrence, that's not nothing. Those are four really good players, so they are better. John Harbaugh will be really good, but that is really a big concern. Dexter Lawrence here, number 97. It is hard to find players that big and that athletic, so clearly on paper they are better, but losing Dexter Lawrence is a significant part of this analysis.
There are people, Dan, and by people, I mean at least me, who have posited that they could be next year's Patriots. Super Bowl might be too lofty, but turning it completely around from a team that was picking right up at the top of the draft to being a legitimate playoff team. I have suggested they could be that. Do you think that's overstating it?
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Like, you know, the second-year quarterback we're excited about, a proven head coach coming in. Yeah, but I think the one question is, of course, that run defense, the middle of that defensive line without Dexter Lawrence. Now, I think Arvell Reese is somebody who will help their run defense right away. But I think, overall, I would say better, but it's a competitive division with the Eagles having won it 2 years in a row. I think Washington and Dallas also got better, so it's hard for me to see. Last year's Patriots were in a weak AFC East and played famously one of the easiest schedules in the league.
Right.
I don't think the Giants can count on that.
Probably not. And Dallas may have, and I know this is terrible English, may have gotten more better than the Giants did, and they were already ahead of them to begin with. Now, let me get to the Eagles then, because I can tell you in Pittsburgh this weekend, that's the team everybody was talking about. Mike T, are the Eagles better or worse than they were last year?
I don't think they're better because they lost a couple of blue-chip players. One, Jalen Phillips, who's a great young pass rusher, and I'm assuming that they're going to lose A.J. Brown. Now, look, Mekhi Levin's going to be a great player. He was my number one receiver, but in 2026...
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. The NFL offseason is in full swing, and the NFC East is shaping up to be a fascinating battle. The New York Giants have a new head coach in John Harbaugh. They have a young quarterback in Jackson Dart. They have added weapons on offense and defense. And some people think they could be the next team to turn it all around, like the Patriots did last season. But Mike Tannenbaum, former GM of the Jets and Dolphins, joined Get Up to break down the division. And he had a bold take. He believes the Philadelphia Eagles, despite losing some key players, are still the team to beat. And he thinks they have built their offense specifically to replace A.J. Brown. Let me show you exactly what he said. Roll the clip. Did you catch that? Let me break this down because there is a lot to unpack. First, let's talk about the Giants. Andrew Hawkins said they are exponentially better than they were a year ago. John Harbaugh is a huge upgrade. They have firepower on the front seven. They did great in the draft. But Mike Tannenbaum pointed out a major concern. He said, the old Bill Parcells rule is evaluate an organization by the quality of players that leave your building. And the Giants have lost Julian Love, Leonard Williams, Saquon Barkley, and now Dexter Lawrence. That is 4 really good players. Losing Dexter Lawrence, a big, athletic defensive tackle, is a significant loss. Now, let's talk about the Eagles. Mike Tannenbaum said, I don't think they're better because they lost a couple of blue-chip players. Jalen Phillips, a great young pass rusher, is gone, and he is assuming that A.J. Brown is going to be traded. He said, Mekhi Lemon is going to be a great player. I think he was my number 1 receiver. But in 2026, to answer this question, I don't think Mekhi Lemon is going to be better than A.J. Brown. That is the key. You cannot replace a star like A.J. Brown overnight. The Eagles drafted Mekhi Lemon, a slot receiver who works the middle of the field. They drafted Eli Stowers, a tight end from Vanderbilt who also works the middle of the field. And that is interesting because Jalen Hurts has historically struggled throwing over the middle. So, is this a vote of confidence in Hurts? Or is it the Eagles preparing for life without him? The crew debated whether the Eagles' draft was tailored around Jalen Hurts. Andrew Hawkins said, if you have a quarterback that struggles in a particular area, you add weapons to bolster that area. Lemon over the middle and Stowers over the middle should be an asset to Jalen Hurts. But he also added, if he still continues to struggle, then it starts to give you some of your long-term answers. And that is the brutal truth. The Eagles are giving Jalen Hurts every opportunity to succeed. They are adding weapons that fit his weaknesses. But if he still cannot throw over the middle, if the offense still stalls, then the Eagles will have to make a decision. And EY have done it before. They moved on from Carson Wentz. They could move on from Jalen Hurts. Mike Tannenbaum pushed back on the negativity. He said, I'm a big Jalen Hurts believer. The guy has been to 2 Super Bowls. He has won 1. He has stood toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, which very few people can do. And he is right. Hurts wins. That is what matters. He is only 27 years old. He should be right in the prime of his career. But the Eagles have an incredibly high standard. They are trying to win Super Bowls. They are trying to establish a legacy. And if Hurts does not take the next step this year, the questions will get louder. So, who wins the NFC East? Mike Tannenbaum did not explicitly say, but the implication was clear. The Eagles are still the team to beat. They have a proven quarterback. They have a great offensive line. They have a defense that added Jonathan Gilliard to help the pass rush. And they have a coaching staff that knows how to win. The Giants are better. The Commanders are better. The Cowboys might be better. But the Eagles are still the favorite. And if A.J. Brown is traded, they have built an offense to replace him. It might not be as good, but it might be more balanced. And that could be exactly what Jalen Hurts needs. I want to know what you think. Will the Eagles win the NFC East again? And is Jalen Hurts the long-term answer in Philadelphia? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And subscribe if you want to stay locked in. We are building something real here. See you next time. Peace.